Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Red Zone's coverage of the World Magic Cup Qualifier 3. Here's our. We're now here at the semifinals of the top 8. And again, I'm Jerrymel.
And I'm Miguel Otleg. So the players are Jan Ang playing Blue-Green Infect versus Jerrymel Lubin Guevarra playing, once again, the Red-White Nahiri Lockdown deck.
And that's Jan Ang to the right, in case anyone's curious.
So yeah, this is the exact same matchup we saw in the quarterfinals with Jerrymel defeating Michael Evangelio in 2 games to none.
And Jerrymel with the deck here that's not big in the meta, but he is fighting another Infect deck, which I assume he faced a lot during Swiss and as you said, even in the quarterfinals. So he should be used to the matchup. So I mean, this becomes highly dependent on skill, I guess, right?
Yeah, so a little bit of background for Jan Ang. He is currently ranked number 2 in pro points um, for captaincy this season. So if the first placer, namely Mike Ron, would not be able to take captaincy of the Philippines this year, then Jan Ang would be rightly named captain.
Yeah, and I've heard there's talk of Mike not being sure of being able to play in the World Magic Cup. But at this point, it's just hearsay whether or not he actually can make it. So, which is why Jan still wants to get the win here. I mean, just to make sure he has that slot either way. So, also, he should be. So here we go, I guess.
Yep.
And Jan, I think, yeah, played a forest and a listener elf.
Yep. And Jerrymel plays, I think it's a Sacred Foundry.
Yep.
And it's untapped, so he takes 2 damage and passes the turn. That's Glistener Elf, dealing 1 damage, so that's 1 poison counter for Jerrymel.
Oh, and another one.
Another Glistener Elf for Janang here.
Yep, and this might be. I mean, this might not be too good for Jan because I'm not sure how many Anger of the Gods the red white deck is running, but if it's running like more than if he has it in hand, then this might be trouble for Jan.
Well, Janang has that uh, untapped land there, so he could use it to protect maybe 1 or even 2 of his creatures.
Well, if it's a counter spell, he could potentially protect two. I mean, if it's against anger, but I guess it's not a sorcery spell if there's gonna be any spells directed at the creatures, because I mean, we are back to Jan's turn now.
Yep, so Jan did fetch for a breeding pool, I believe, and
Yep.
it's so he played it end of turn, so yeah. So it was tapped, and now he's taking his turn.
And that's distortion strike on one of the elves.
Alright, so that's 3 poison counters.
Yep.
So Jerrymel at 4 poison counters. Only 6 more to go for Jan to take this game 1.
Yep, and that distortion strike, of course, with the flashback. But that's the anger of the gods that we're talking about, which clears Jan's board. Oh, but he does have a follow up.
He has a blighted agent.
Yep.
So,
And this here's the thing with the infect decks. I mean, it's currently at. I mean, he currently has Jerrymel at 4 poison counters, but if Jerrymel here is not able to take care of that blighted agent, Jan can easily get the remaining six poison out of one swing.
Yeah, and yeah, it's how generally how Infect works. Just stick a threat and then uh, use pump spells so you can hit for quite a lot of damage in one turn. So yeah, we're not far off from one turn away from getting a game one win from for Janang here.
And I guess Jerrymel here not with no burn spell in hand, because if you have one with an infect opponent tapped out, you just windmill that thing, right?
Yep.
And let's see what he does.
So he's currently thinking about his options right here.
Yeah, it's still taking a while. And well, it starts with the Sacred
An
Foundry.
untapped Sacred Foundry.
And it's a Molten Rain.
Okay, so Molten Rain, I think targeting. Oh wow, it targeted the forest.
That signals a possible Blood Moon follow up, unfortunately for Jan. But we'll see. Still nothing to take care of, but to take care of the blighted agent though.
Yep, so that's 5 poison counters already.
So I assume we're gonna see a Blood Moon here based on how Jerrymel played the previous turn.
Yeah, that's the most likely play, but he's still thinking about it. Maybe one more turn.
I mean, cause he was not able to, cause he had several turns to play a burn spell to kill off that blighted agent and didn't do it. So to me, that seems like he doesn't have it. Um, and now plays another land, and I think he's considering just playing Blood Moon now. He could be um I mean, he could be holding back because he doesn't have a white source after he casts Blood Moon. Well, but there you go. Arid Mesa, I assume getting a plains there, and then I guess then he cast that Blood Moon, right?
Yeah, so he does fetch for a plains, and maybe thinking if he plays a removal spell before Blood Moon or not.
Well, I mean, there's not really much that Jan could play with that one mana. So
Yeah,
so
but there are some decks that play.
oh, he plays Dark Dwellers, getting anger back.
Oh, okay. So yeah, there are some infect players that run just a one of counter spells in their main deck. So
No, but I mean,
yeah.
if Jan had that counter spell, I mean, Jerrymel could have played that Blood Moon, and if it indeed got countered, then you still just kill up that the blighted agent. So I mean,
Well,
it's
yeah.
still a win-win for him, though, right?
So here's the Blood Moon. Right, so Jan Ang has 2 mountains technically.
Yep, and Dark Dweller's getting to work, and yeah, I think Jan is. I mean, yeah, Jerrymel is like 3 more swings from that Dark Dwellers away from victory, right?
Yeah, he
But
actually cast a Nahiri. Yeah, he
and
was
yeah,
really just running away with that
and
game.
yeah, and Jan just simply had enough at that point. Because yeah, like what we said the previous game. Game two, you could easily get this deck because I mean you can easily get the win with the infect deck versus the white red deck because you get to have your nature's claims from the sideboard, and what happens is if Jerrymel casts that the Blood Moon um out of tempo, then I mean in tempo, I mean you yeah, Jan still gets to use Nature Claim and swing in for everything the following turn. So it's not so much of a good play anymore when that happens.
Yeah. So players getting ready for game two, looking at their opening hands. So they both decide to uh, keep 7 cards. So here's Jan Ang play yet again.
Well, it's a
A turn
Noble
1
Hierarch
threat,
pair.
but
Actually.
this time in Noble Hierarch.
Yeah, because what he's doing this time is he's casting Noble Hierarch. Uh, he casts Noble Hierarch first, and then a Blighted Agent, so he has mana up. I believe that's for a counter spell, just in case Jerrymel has anything here.
Yep, so Jerrymel thinking of his possible plays for this turn.
Yep, and that indeed is a Lightning Helix in Jan's. Considering countering, and that's a fetch, so I believe that's what's gonna happen. And getting a Breeding Pool into
Is
a
that
counter
a
spell.
maybe a dispel, maybe a spell pierce? But
No, it's a spell pierce. They don't really run the spells. We do have some glare on the cards here. We'll have that sorted out in a bit. All right, and get the action probe.
yep. So there's 2 Blood Moons, a Wear and Tear.
That's Anger of the Watch and a Johnny. Huh.
Yeah, that's a Johnny.
Well, I guess that's for like unlimited lightning helixes on the creatures. Yeah, so I guess that's a thing. Um, John draws the card, and does he have lethal though? I mean, he has 3 lands and a blighted agent. It should be good enough. There's something about Nexus. Yeah, and he pumps his blighted agent up to 11 and gets that game rather quickly.
Yep, so well, that's good old Infect for you.
Yep, and Jan just smiling a lot because of how quickly he won that game, I guess. Which
So,
means we
yep.
are going to game 3.
Yes, guys. There are two decks. I mean, 2 players playing Infect in the top 8 for a reason. The deck's still pretty good.
Yep, and one of the reasons is that it normally wins. I mean, it can normally get a game in turn 3, which I mean, and when you're in the play, that's really big. So yeah, we are at game 3, and we have Jerrymel here just um, trying to figure out if he's gonna keep that hand. I guess he's having a hard time because I don't know, it's sorta good. Now we'll try to see what he has in hand.
Okay, so he decides to
He decides to
mulligan.
mulligan.
Decides it's not good enough for him. Yeah, a little bit of frustration there.
Well, I mean, he is on the play, and I mean,
Yeah, I guess.
you are
It-
technically. I mean, you go first, but you're somewhat technically down a card. Eh, so mulligans a bit costly at the moment, but
yeah, but then again, this is modern, so it's good advice to just mulligan until you find a hand that
Yeah.
can deal with your opponent.
Yeah, I think the reason why he was so frustrated in that hand that he had earlier. If I saw it right, I think it's because he had all the good spells, and could have played with I think it was a one land keep which he could have played with, also because he had the spells, but he had a mountain instead of a fetch land. I think that could be a reason. Because I mean, against Infect, if you have, let's say he had like a hand with a Sacred Foundry, like, a couple of lightning bolts, and on the play, you could actually keep that. I mean, because you, even if you miss one land drop, then it still works, and if you don't, then you win, something like that. So yeah, I guess that's why he was so frustrated about that hand. But yeah, I mean, when you're in doubt, you could always just mulligan, just to be sure.
Yep. So here's 6 cards for Jerrymel. He hopes to have it be
Good enough, I guess.
good enough.
And again, you see that mountain.
So did he forget to scry?
I believe so. I mean, with modern, you normally forgo scrying because you fetch either way. I guess that's why. I mean, then he realized.
Yeah, but he just played the mountain for his first turn.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. I was thinking. He probably thought. He's probably used to fetching first turn anyway.
So I think that was boom bust. So yeah, he destroyed Janang's lone land for the turn.
Yep, and targeting his Darksteel Citadel, which is indestructible, which is why he doesn't lose his own land. Now, Jan Ang with just a Glistener Elf and a Windswept Heat. Oh, we do have Pendelhaven.
And here's a new card that's been rising in modern nowadays. It's a Blessed Alliance. It's a 2 to cast instant. It's 1 in a white. It has Escalate. Pay 1 more generic mana for to use another mode.
Yeah.
So its modes are untap to target creatures, gain 4 life, or target player sacrifices an attacking creature.
Yeah, I mean, Jerrymel tapping weird there though. Like he tapped his Mountain and Sacred Foundry, leaving the Citadel untapped. So he wasn't really casting anything that turn. I mean, he could have kept the Mountain up just to give a threat of a lightning bolt. But since he wasn't, since he didn't, if he was gonna keep, well, what I'm trying to say, if he was just gonna keep the Citadel up, he should have just gained 4 life. I mean, it's not gonna matter that much, but
Yeah, I
might as well
guess.
do it. But the best play would have been to keep the Mountain up, just in case.
Yep. So that's another boom bust. Successfully destroying of Jan Ang's lands.
Yep, Jan seems to have kept a lot here, and uses breeding pool here for blue and to cycle a card, sort of cycle a card.
Yeah. So another comment on Blessed Alliance. Yeah, it may be better than other removal. Other removal spells in modern, since it it has a sacrifice clause, so it doesn't really target a creature. So yeah, it's useful against stuff like indestructible, hexproof, you know, which protects, which is a common way to protect creatures in modern.
Yep, and Jan here with another breeding pool before playing that blighted agent. So I guess he kept the land heavy hand, knowing that the opponent was the opponent starts with land destruction, as we said. And now Jerrymel just taking a while here counting how much damage he could take. But like I said, if you have a burn spell, you use it on the blighted agent right away, because you don't want you don't want to get to the turn where you try to one up your opponent by casting your burn spell when it's attacking or in response to it pumping, because this deck has a lot of spells that pump, a lot of spells that give. I mean, some spells that give its creatures hexproof, some that give it protection. It does even has mutagenic growth, which they can cast for zero light. It has a lot of things. You normally want to kill that creature when it's not attacking, just so they if it's that's so if they want to keep it with keep it alive with a pump spell, then they waste a card.
Yep. So
So Jan just passing the turn, I guess.
yeah, I guess he's aware that the opponent might have another copy of Blessed Alliance.
Yep, and yeah, so Jerrymel here is still. I
So
guess we have him,
Jerrymel
right?
not playing anything end of turn and also during his turn. That signifies that well maybe Jan Ang's instinct was correct. It
I
may,
mean, it could just simply be because Jerrymel has missed a couple of land drops, and I mean he could be because this deck is actually heavy on four drops. I think because it like what have we seen so far, right? There was an
yeah, we've
Ajani.
seen a Johnny, and we know from the namesake of the deck that there is a Nahiri the
A,
Harbinger.
yeah, and then you have your Emrakul, which he could have drawn. Well, now he finally cast Blood Moon, but yeah, now like you said, we the thing is if you tap out for Blood Moon, then the Infect player can um respond with a Nature's Claim. Oh, and another reason, by the way, why Jan didn't want to attack yet in that turn is because I'm not sure if you could see it, but he actually played a Dryad Arbor on that turn, which couldn't attack it because he had Summoning Sickness.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that's two pump spells.
Oh, I think it's the same pair from earlier.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, that's two pump spells.
Two pump spells against a tapped opponent.
Even I don't think even Simian Spirit Guide can, you know, can do much in that position. So yeah, Jan Ang wins the match, 2-1. He will advance to the finals.
Yep, and we on the other hand get to see the other match which determines who he's gonna be up against.
Stay tuned.